entrepreneur and anyone with a fire in their belly looking to succeed. This book is an inspiration for anyone and shows that humble beginning should never be a limitation. I hope young people around the world will be inspired by Mr. Ravi's book and his personal story to work towards their dreams. Thank you.
And now it's time to officially launch the book. Well, thank you very much. The book is now officially launched, and I urge you all to read it. I'm going to be reading from the book itself, and you can judge from the merits. It's a very well-written book from the point of view of a writer. First, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Ravi and how I came across him at first. So I went out to his home in Putney, and there, just about everybody in shipping was there, including the Secretary General of the IMO, many of the CEOs of some of the European companies, many CEOs from some of the Asian companies, but I couldn't find where Mr. Mehrotra was. I still wanted to know who this man was. If you've read an American classic called Great Gatsby, you'll know that a guy named Nick Carraway wanders around, an American guy, wanders around a big party, a splendid party, and oh, what a splendid party this was, by the way. There was a giant tent in his backyard that looked like Kubla Khan's sort of celebratory area with the most wonderful food on earth. And I couldn't find Ravi, and then suddenly, as I was sort of stepping up in one of the front rooms, there was a gentleman just sitting there, just having a nice conversation, and it was Ravi, very, very humble. He had, all these people knew him, and here was this remarkable party. And it was one of the first times that I felt actually welcome in London after having moved there from Asia, and I wanted to thank him for that. So I wanted to get a little bit about who is this guy anyway, and why does everybody seem to know him? And so I did some background research, as journalists tend to do. His Foresight Limited was founded in 1984, and Ravi spent the early part of his career working in India and Iran. Some of this you saw in the film. And his first job in shipping was with the Shipping Corporation of India. And his work in shipping in the early days of the Islamic Republic of Iran helped to ensure that that nation was able to develop a necessary maritime transport essential for its economic survival. In 1975, he was seconded to Iran to help set up the Irano-Hind Shipping Company in Tehran, and a joint venture run by the governments of Iran and India. And then from 1979, following the Iranian Revolution, he combined his duties as managing director, as a very young man, for Irano-Hind, with those of principal advisor to the government of Iran and the Ministry of Trade in particular. And he basically was responsible for developing this nation's shipping. And after that, he went on to another life, setting up shop in Britain, becoming a ship owner. He's well known in London shipping circles as a maverick who knows how to read the fortunes of the tanker offshore and other markets and to make canny bets on when to buy and sell. He's owned dry cargo vessels, refrigerated vessels, a drill ship, very large crude carriers, jack-up rigs, tankers, container ships, and a cruise ship. For his remarkable career so far and his acumen in shipping, he was awarded honorary CBE by Queen Elizabeth II in 2006. And he now has decided to impart some of the elements that allowed him to develop this remarkable career into his book, which is a charitable book. It's going to be given to a maritime institute in India, all the proceeds. But it's really like no other book, business book, that I've ever read. First, I mean, Ravi's an unusual guy, so you'd expect an unusual book. For example, 2 years ago, I said, Ravi, what are you doing with the summer? And he said, oh, me and my wife were going to take a hike around Mount Kailas in Tibet. I went, what? And there he did. He actually did. He found a way to get there. It was very, very difficult to do it from Lhasa, so he went to Kathmandu and hired a helicopter. He flew in the fog from hill to hill to dale, and then found his way up to Mount Kailas, and they actually walked part of it. A remarkable journey. And a very, very interesting man. In shipping, you run into a lot of people who look like geniuses in business, but you never meet somebody who walks around a holy mountain in Tibet. So I found that fascinating. Now, also, Ravi, he sort of tickled my fancy because he has Chinese restaurants in India and Indian restaurants in China. They both happen to be very successful. Now, I was thinking, oh, all right, fair enough. I mean, why didn't I think of that? But the restaurants are very, very high quality, and the secret is not just that he's doing this contrarian thing, but he knows what good quality is. Now, I used to work in consulting. Part of my life I don't like to admit. I've been a journalist and I met a lot of business people. I was a financial journalist before I became a shipping journalist. And a lot of the books that I read are quite unrealistic. They are the 10 ways to meet the Sartori of being a CEO or something like this. They're always like lists. And Ravi's 10 items are actual real items. And the advice he gives in his book is real advice. And it comes directly from raw experience, and none of it is false. And a lot of it's well written. So let me read a section about how Ravi approached risk management at a crucial point in his life. This was in Iran. It was either my propensity to gravitate towards troubled situations that brought me face to face with my destiny, or the fact that my destiny was to create success out of troubled situations. Nevertheless, whatever's the answer to that, I've always felt that there's a connection there, and I have created my destiny by facing troubled situations head on. It's not always that strife, war, and revolutions can be beneficial. Yet another hotbed of trouble leading to a challenge and then success popped up in my life in 1979 when the Iranian leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, arrived in Iran to lead the revolution. I remained in what became the Islamic Republic of Iran, running the Irano-Hind Ship Company, and could not leave without handing responsibility for the joint venture to someone officially designated by both countries involved. So although a few of my associates returned to India, my family and I remained in the Islamic Republic. One day, soon after the revolution had begun, Islamic guards were sent to escort me to the Revolutionary Council headquarters. I was petrified. The revolutionaries were allegedly executing people related or connected with the Shah of Iran. I called Mr. Ali Akbar Khalili, then the Indian ambassador to Tehran, and both he and the managing director of Irano-Hind advised me to go. When I reached the headquarters, they surprised me by producing a complete dossier on me. They further astonished me by telling me that since the Islamic Republic of Iran did not have an oil pipeline, and all oil, more than 3 barrels per day, was exported by sea from Karg Island, shipping lanes for oil exports would have to be kept open to fund the revolution. Ayatollah Khomeini was therefore demanding the appointment of a principal advisor on shipping to the chairman and managing director of the Aya National Shipping Lines, who was neither Iranian, neither Muslim, nor Iranian, nor European, nor American. So there I was in October 1979, having been appointed principal advisor on shipping to the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I, who had been resuscitated and expelled from the DMET in 1961 for excessive ragging. I guess that's getting in trouble in school. Had become the most senior foreigner to post-revolutionary Iran. Even ambassadors of other countries had to seek an appointment with me if they had any issues related to shipping. My first task was to nationalize the Aya National Shipping Line, which I, and indeed most others, had been under the mistaken impression was already nationalized. This was not the case. It was owned by the Shah's Foundation. I took responsibility for nationalizing the line, and I personally drew up a bill of nationalization in order to ensure that it would remain the country's premier shipping organization. And indeed, for many years, it went on to be a very, very impressive shipping line. It was the foundation for Iranian shipping, which in 2 remarkable shipping companies, of course, which today are under duress because of US sanctions, but they had a very, very long run, and I'm sure they will continue to do so. Now, I want to read one more element to the thinking of Mr. Mehrotra and why people should read this book, even well beyond the shipping. Something very unusual about the way he approaches business problems is categorized in his step 5 of the principles that you saw on the screen there. Now, Ravi says, once your plan has been prepared in detail, stop working on it and mull it over for 3 days. Challenge your subconscious mind and let it look at the plan, pick holes in it, and tell you all its reservations about the plan. Because once you are set on the path of your destination, changing your plan is nearly impossible. There's no going back on it. Don't let your subconscious mind have the opportunity to point a finger at you later on and say, you did not consult me. You will be surprised at the dreams and suggestions the subconscious mind can come up with once it is pushed to use. Now factor these suggestions made by your subconscious into your plan, and it is not necessary that all your subconscious mind suggestions are correct. If they're not, feel free to argue with it and with your subconscious mind and point out the holes in the plan. They're very, very interesting ideas. Now, before I bring Ravi up, I was charmed by another story which appeared in the early copies of the book. Ravi, actually, he's a very bold man. I mean, he wasn't afraid of Ayatollah Khomeini. He wasn't afraid of founding a national shipping in Iran. And he's done many, many other things. He's invested in, at the moment, he's investing in offshore, and he's full of courage. But he was actually a little bit timid about public speaking when he was younger, at least according to him. And he was asked to speak at a Lloyd's List conference on joint ventures. And he said to his wife, "How can I do this? I know nothing about joint ventures. I'm terrified." And his wife said, "Well, think of the most important joint venture in your life. It's marriage. You know something about that. You do a fairly good job at that, so get up there and speak." And he did. He did a terrific job. I'd like to bring up my friend, the distinguished Ravi Mehrotra.
Wow. Tom, I can't express the way you have described my book as if I'm Salman Rushdie. I hope the book is readable to you. Ladies and gentlemen, before I discuss what Tom has given me work, I'd like to know if there is any lawyer in this audience. Is there any lawyer? No? Thank God. I can describe as I like. I don't have to worry then. Okay. You know, I want to tell you an anecdote. In London, lawyers are paid, they charge you, not paid, they charge you by hours, not by day, not by the case. Whatever hours they put in, they bill you. So, here is a very young, energetic, very intelligent, hard-working lawyer. He used to work very hard, and he had made a plan that he will work till 45 and then take a retirement and go and settle in Bahamas. There's one catch. And also, he will divorce his wife and marry a young nubile and then settle in Bahamas. His plan, like me, he implemented it. He worked on it. He made a lot of money. And when he reached 45, he took retirement from his company. And he also took divorce from his wife, amicable, and married a young nubile lady and went to Bahamas to settle. He was very happy that everything has worked out well. Then suddenly, one day, he died. He was very annoyed. He says, when everything was going well, why I have died? I am so young. So he went to the heaven. He went to the God. He says, God, why have you called me here? I am still young. I am enjoying. There was no serious sickness. Why have you called? God also got puzzled. He says, okay, let me call. He called St. Peter's, bring his logbook, let's see what is the position. When he says, why you have called him up? He says, he is only 45-year-old. So St. Peter says, yes, what he says is okay, that's a recorded age. But the bills he has charged to his clients, he is supposed to be 97. That is the reason. Okay. So this is how the legal firms are known in UK. So thank God there was no one here legal. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the second job which Tom has given me is to describe why did I write this book. That's a really difficult question to answer. But the question comes when you work hard, you follow exact schedules, travel hard, and at the end of your life, if you have to show only your bank account as your output, I started asking and looking at me, is it worth it? And that is where the question comes of legacy. What have I achieved and what I have given to the society? So, ladies and gentlemen, in 2003, I established a maritime training institute. And it is in my hometown, and it does not train fancy qualifications like navigational officers or marine engineers. It trains sailors. It only needs 10 plus 2 years education and one certificate to prove that you are the poorest of the poor, because everything else is provided by the institute. So we do not take any person who is from well-to-do family. It has to be the poorest of the poor. Then I started thinking that when I am no more here in this earth among you, the next generation of my company's bosses may not pay the same attention to this maritime institute, how to make it self-financing. And that is where I caught on the idea, why not write a book, give the story, do the two things. One, to create some income for the institute in the future, and also create a chance for the youth how to struggle and become one of the successful. So my wish is that I want to see few more successful ship owners and entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we